Robert Martin, Detective Matt Briglia, case agents as well as the supervisor. Many of you here know that I've always said that the two most vulnerable populations that children are seniors, and it seems like just yesterday all of you were with the epicenter of a media news story where a teenager here in St. Lucie County went missing, only to be found 48 hours later in Orlando, lured there by an adult media. Since that time, I admit to you, the use of social media by children has only increased. Just like that case, adults also using social media to communicate, befriend, and prey on children. Today, we're here to announce the result of Operation Guardian Angel, a month-long investigation, days randomly out of a month, and that led to the arrest of 23 men who preyed upon minors' sex. Operation Guardian Angel was named in honor of the late Sergeant Rob Valentine, who spent many years as a detective investigating internet-based crimes against children. The operation used undercover deputies posing at 12 to 16-year-old children on websites and several social media platforms. Individuals arrested were all from St. Lucie County, were all communicating with the undercover deputies, luring the underage personas into meeting them with the sole purpose of sexual activity. In every instance, undercover deputies repeatedly made it clear that underage each time the offender continued to do them. Some offenders even lied about their own age to make themselves sound younger and convince the underage personas to meet. In one instance, an offender even brought drugs with him, saying it would keep the underage persona mellow during the. Yet another instance, an offender sent a photo of genitals to the underage persona. 23 individuals arrested, charged with felonies that included lewd and lascivious behavior on a victim 12 to 16 years old, use of a computer to seduce, solicit a child, use of a two-way communication device to facilitate a felony, traveling to meet after using a computer to a child, and misrepresentation of their own age to solicit or. All of these individuals were booked into the St. Lucie County Jail, held on bond. Two individuals up here that immediately upon their arrest in ICE. Community is safer today because of these individuals put behind bars and now face the consequences of their actions the rest of their lives. Those convicted will be required to register as sex offenders, and some may qualify as predators. Hope that this operation serves as a wake-up call for both parents and guardians to keep a watchful eye on their children, have access to the internet, and to have a frank conversation with them. Never give address to a stranger online or agree to meet. Children are innocent, vulnerable, oftentimes looking for attention, validation, acceptance. Any of these social media sites, individuals probably know that. That's it. Includes what I have to say. We have the case agents here that can explain details of the operation and the arrest. All of these individuals have bonded out, except the two that have on them. That question? Well, there was a location that was secured here in St. Lucie County. Deputies were placed in that location and were on various social media sites saying that they were home alone for the summer, that they were a child, that they were 15, in one case 13, and these individuals immediately began conversations with them to interact with them.
Did most of them already have prior records of this type of?
No, none of them do. This is all first-time arrest for them.
What were the websites and social media sites used, especially so parents can know what they they need to be watching?
We'd rather not share that information at this time. We're still, this is still actively going on. We still have other investigative channels that we're pursuing, so we don't want to let that out now. But this was a very successful operation, knowing that just last year we dealt with a teenager that was lured from our community by a social media site.
If I can add to that,
Come on up, Sue.
every social media site should be monitored by the parents. I don't think there's one, or I don't think we would even pick out one that we would say it's 100% safe, because you never know who's on the other side. So we don't endorse any social media. If a child's on social media and the parent knows that, they need to monitor it.
So what should parents do? What should they be looking for? How should they monitor? What are any signs they should look for or anything like this?
Well, in our society, a lot of kids are home alone, and that's just the way it's always going to be. I think knowing passwords, knowing what social media sites that children are on, go on there and look at it. My children are older, and I don't have a Facebook, but I have a husband who has a Facebook to watch our children who are adults, because that's the way it needs to be. I get it. I hear it a lot of time. The phones, social media is at your beck and call at every second. Taking photographs, sending photographs, all those things. You never know where they're going. Parents ask me all the time, well, how do I stop them from taking pictures? I don't know, take a Sharpie and cover the lens of the camera on the phone. It's your phone, you pay for it, you pay the bill. So there's ways to prevent it. It's a thankless job, because there's not a teenager around that's going to want their parents on their social media, and it is a labor-intensive job. We're not making light of it. It's difficult, but that's how you help prevent it.
Sheriff, you were saying that as soon as the detective got online and posted, immediately, like when you say immediately, like within minutes of getting online, people were out there.
Yes, and these are the 23 that were arrested. These are not the only 23 people who made contact. It warms my heart to tell you that there were people that, as soon as the age was identified, were like, "You're a child. You shouldn't be doing this. Your parents need to know what you're doing." Truly, there are people out there that stepped up to the plate and said, "Absolutely not. You need to find something else to do." Some of them were sarcastic. "Hey kid, go to the playground. Hey kid, go to the beach. You shouldn't be on here." So that warms my heart to know that there's actually citizens out there that are intervening when they see something like that. These are not the only 23 people we had contact with. We had contact with hundreds of people in the 8 days. Some of them chose to remove themselves from the conversation. Some of them lost interest. And quite frankly, sometimes we just had to shut down. You can't run a squad like that for 24 hours. It's too hard for the detectives.
So these 23 sort of followed through, if you will.
That is
When
correct.
they arrived at the meeting place, what did they have with them?
Some of them, one of them was charged actually with paraphernalia and drug possession. Most of them came with themselves. If anything was asked of them to bring, one showed up with Choco's Tacos ice cream, right? Choco's Tacos ice cream, because he said he was going to bring ice cream, so he did. We did not chat to the fact where we wanted them to bring items. So I think that's the only.
Condoms, a lot of them show up with condoms.
Always with condoms, because we, in order to let these people know we're not of age, that protected sex always comes into it. So.
One thing I want to make clear, Sergeant Woodward, is when we put on the discussion that I was 15, that was not the only time that it was explained that this was a minor. How many times?
These people are given an out several times. I can be in trouble. You can get in trouble for this. We shouldn't do this. I don't want you to get in trouble. We are definitely, the age is listed 3 times. Sometimes the first time you expect it, they may read right by it and you understand that. That's fine. We've all read a text and not got the content of it correct because we're speeding through it. And we're not looking for that socially awkward guy either. We're not looking for that 20-year-old who's socially awkward, who doesn't know how to meet somebody in person, so goes online to meet somebody. They're not a predator looking for a child. So we give them an out 3 times. We give them that they could be in trouble 3 times. We give them the age 3 times. But there is no mistake that when they decide to travel, what they're traveling for, our probable cause is built. All they need to do is show up. And as soon as they show up, we don't need to have a conversation with them at that point. We do, but we don't need to.
What was their response when you guys moved in on them? Did some of them say, oh, that's not, I mean, were they trying to?
From A to
A couple
Z.
of funny stories.
Come on up,
we
Rob.
sued one. All right, sorry about that. One person said that I know it's a police sting, and in the conversations, and he kept saying, I know it's a police sting, but he continued to travel. When I interviewed him, he says, I know it was a police sting, but I just wanted to see what it was all about. And I'm like, you gotta have a better excuse than that. I can think of a lot of other things I'd rather do than go and just see what a police sting about luring kids, for sex was. A lot of them said they never intended to have sex. I was gonna come there and tell them that, hey, this is bad. Like, you have plenty of opportunities. We covered all that, like the Sarge said, in all those conversations.
Superhero syndrome. I was there to protect them so they wouldn't get in trouble. I was there to tell them they shouldn't be doing this. They never once mentioned they shouldn't be doing this, or they may have mentioned they shouldn't be doing this and talked themselves out of why they shouldn't be doing this. It's human behavior at its best, to say the least.
So basically, at that point, when they arrive there, I mean, you have everything you need. Whatever they say after that point.
You can step back up to the mic.
Yes, as soon as they show up to the scene, we have our probable cause. Our probable cause is already built at that point. Them showing up and traveling to that location for sex with a child is established. When we talk to them, we do talk to them and we do interviews with them, and I want to say 2 maybe didn't want to talk about it.
I think there was 2 that invoked their rights. The majority were defeated. They knew
Very
that they
defeated,
were
and you can see
busted.
that immediately.
And that kind of leads you in to believe that that's not the first time they've done that type of activity.
It's just the first time they've been caught.
Is it disturbing or depressing knowing that you got, I mean, this sounds like shooting fish from a barrel, like you just went online and it was that easy. I mean, I know there's a lot of work involved in it, but.
It's that easy to get someone to contact you back. It is that easy to have conversation, and it's not difficult. We don't have to entrap anybody. We give them everything they need to back away. And people didn't show up. People who gave us enough turned away, and at the last minute, like, I can't do this. And good for them,
Tagging on to that question, do you feel, I mean, obviously 23 people is a lot. You said you talked to so many, but do you feel like this is really a small number of the people who are out there?
If we got 23 people in 8 days, picking random days, we picked 2 days a week for 4 weeks. That's how the operation ran. There was no rhyme or reason to why we set it up that way. We set it up that way because that's the way we could best, with manpower and things like that. These are 2 of the case agents. Sergeant Ortiz is in the back. She's recently got promoted, but she was our 3rd case agent. We only had 3 case agents to work cases, and at one night it was very, very hectic. We needed a lot more than 3 people. And it wasn't, I'd love to be able to tell you only Friday night's really busy, or Wednesday night's really busy, or Saturday night. There was absolutely no dynamics or nothing statistically that would make one day of the week any different than the other.
And that's the message here. Parents really need to wake up, because every day that begins in Y, that their child is on the internet, they're going to fall prey to one of these predators.
And we ran different hours as well.
Right.
We would some days start at noon, some days start at 4. I don't think we ever started later than 4 in the afternoon, but it was daytime.
Right.
It was not. This is not middle of the night stuff where the bad
People
monster
sneaking around,
lurks in the darkness.
Right.
This is in plain view. They're hiding in plain view. So
what's your message, Sheriff, to the people out there doing this?
Just like I mentioned, if you're a parent and you have a child on the internet, someone is going to attempt to lure them on a social media site, and you better beware.
What about the bad guy? What's your message
Oh,
to them?
the bad guy is we took 23 that traveled here. there were hundreds that actually had dialogue with our detectives. This is our first step at doing this many times in the future. So if you think you're coming to St. Lucie County to prey on our children, there's the quote down there. You better bring a toothbrush because you're going to jail. The guys from the union went ahead and made this up for this operation. And that's something we'll be using quite often in the future.
Sheriff, you see any crimes like this letting up? I mean, it seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse.
You know, as social media continues to explode, these types of crimes are going to be very common for us to deal with.
I just had a quick question. You said that the activity is happening during the day. Were the meetings during the day as well, or did that kind of areas?
There were actually a few of the defendants who made contact week 1 and planned to travel and never showed up. And then we had one who showed up week 4 with the address in his pocket that he held on to for 4 weeks. And he came week 4 just knocking on the door, which was shocking to us because we didn't expect anybody to show up. So yeah, some of them made plans before. Some of these guys we talked to 3 and 4 nights, and we would try to discourage them, and they would come back, and they would come back. And they weren't always, they didn't know they were talking to the same person. We knew they were the same, that they were the same person. They didn't know they were talking to the same person. So our detectives that were chatting would be like, oh no, so-and-so's back on the line here. He's with a whole different persona. So these guys, some of them, were looking every day for something. And
that could have been a different child every day.
it could have been a different child. It very easily could have been a different child every day.
What were the ages of the suspects? I mean, I see some gentlemen much older than others.
The youngest was 20. He was also the one who was told that the target was 15 a couple times, and at one point we just said, okay, tell him you lied and that you were 13. And let's just see if he'll just go away, and he did not go away.
What
So-
about the gender? I'm sorry.
The gender,
Of the victims, were they looking for?
some were female, some were male. Some of the hits we had were husband and wife looking for, and then just never traveled. So it's not just crazy men or eerie men or scary men. We thought we would actually have a couple of females travel, and they haven't. And to answer who asked the old and young, the oldest was 79.
79?
Yes.
Sheriff and Detectives, you guys touched on this briefly, but we get this question a lot whenever covering operations like this. Is this entrapment?
I think I covered that a little bit, but I'll tell you again, absolutely not. We are not out asking for somebody to come have sex with me. We don't mention sex at all. It is always brought upon by the traveler. They are told several times, gosh, you could get in trouble for this. You know, I'm only 15. You could get in trouble for this. I'm only 13. I don't want to get in trouble, but I don't want you to get in trouble. So no, absolutely not. It's not entrapment at all. We don't mention sex. We don't offer it up. We offer up our age. We offer up that we're kids home alone, or that we're kids at visitation at our parents for summer, but we don't offer up sex at all. So no.
But you're not kids, you're adults just role-playing, so how legally is that not entrapment?
There's nothing, and half of those aren't the age they said they are either, and they're not the guys they said they are either. It's all fair in love and war.
So they're giving it out 3 times.
Correct.
Minimum of 3 times. Minimum of 3 times. And our case agents will all tell you, we have our chatters, and our case agents will read every bit of that chat to establish A, probable cause, B, that they were at least told 3 times how old they were, and C, that they were given an out at least 3 times. You could get in trouble, I could get in trouble. You would be amazed at how many of these men say, you know, this is against the law. I can't do this. I could go to jail for this. And we would answer, yes, you're right, you could, but it is what it is, you know? So they know, and we offer that up to them. We tell them, you're right. We don't say, oh, no, you can't get in trouble for this. So,
Sergeant
I just
Ortiz
wanted
has
to
a
add little
comment.
bit
Yeah.
To his question.
come up here.
Come on up.
This is Sergeant Ortiz.
Sorry. I just wanted to add a little bit to your comment. This is nothing different than any other undercover operation where a detective who's a law enforcement takes a persona of a prostitute or a drug addict or a drug dealer or anything else like that. So that's it.
I've noticed you guys arrested all men. Were they after girls? All girls or?
Both.
Both males and females. They some of them thought they were traveling to meet young boys.
Doing this for so long, does this get easier or harder, especially with the explosion of social media and the internet? Does it make your jobs easier fighting back on that platform as well?
It's never easy. There's nothing easy about this. There's nothing easy emotionally about this. There's nothing easy psychologically about it. That's why I said it warmed my heart when people actually, citizens who were chatting, stepped up to the plate and said, you know, listen kid, go play in the sandbox, go to the beach, you need to get off here, because it gives us hope that there are good people out there who, when they see this, are willing to at least step in vocally and say something. Is it harder to do because of social media or easier to do? It is social media. Whether it's harder or easier, it's where we're at in this world, and it's only going to get bigger. So we really don't think about it as being hard or easy. We think about it as this is the wave of our future, and this is the way we need to police. Not only for this stuff, other crimes that are committed on the computer as well. So as for every great part of a computer, somebody's going to find a way to make it horrible.
Do you see the community getting involved on social media and starting their own groups to talk about this in their neighborhoods?
I don't know if they're going to talk about it on social media. I think it is will be a topic of discussion probably now for a little while after your stories go out. I think that people will call us, and we'll start getting the concerned parents. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? We'll start getting requests to do homeowners meetings and schools. I venture to say after you put your stories out that we'll have principals that'll be saying, hey, listen, is there anything you can offer us? And we'll get with our school resource deputies, and we'll honor those requests, because that's our job. If we can educate, that speaks volumes for us in our job, educating people on how to act, how to react, what parents need to do and what they need not to do. So we're all about that. Education, that helps us tremendously.
School season is right around the corner. What are you going to do? Are you going to set up any events or anything to educate the children on these social media platforms and the parents?
Our school resource does that all the time. That's a rolling clock that happens continuously. So can I give you specifics? No, because I know that is just part of their curriculum continuously.
And these guys stick together. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
One of these individuals that was arrested at the beginning of the operation blasted me on a social media site. Detective Barton's running an undercover operation. Don't go to this area. You're going to get arrested. He's trying to have sex with adults. We still arrested 4 people that night after that ad was posted and continued the rest of the operation. So they themselves try to educate people of like mind. So they're doing their part, and we're going to do ours better.
And you know, after we recovered that teenager in Orlando, we had so many calls from parents that said, please come and educate us. And we presume that's going to happen after this story hits too.
Thank you.